Okay. Trying to get Jeilene back here, guys. I do apologize. I'm not really sure. We might have to pre-record this and air it at a later date. I do apologize. I don't know what's going on. Mercury retrograde probably would be my best guess. I'm going to see if I can get her to hop back
Hey, that was strange.
in. It was.
What happened? Our link went away.
Yeah, just dropped out. So we'll give it another shot, and if for some reason it keeps going out on us, I guess we could pre-record something and then upload it or something, just so
Okay.
because I don't want your tones to be cut out. Once you start that portion,
Right.
so
Sometimes when there's connectivity problems, as soon as I start toning,
straightens
it
out.
all
Huh?
works. Yeah, it all straightens out.
People are saying Mercury retrograde until the 10th of March. I don't know anything about that stuff though, so
That's right. That's right.
but it can affect electronics,
Uh,
is what I hear anyway.
yep.
Okay. Well, oh gosh, it's red and orange and yellow and green and kind of bouncing around here. Let me see. Am I
Oh, on
glitching
your
for
side,
you?
I have, yeah, you are glitching a little bit. Mine looks really strong on my end. It's
Yeah,
just,
yours looks strong on my end as well, but for my broadcast, it's kind of going from orange to yellow and green, kind of jumping around. There, it's back to green again. So let's give it a shot. We'll keep our fingers crossed. Hope the higher ups can give us some assistance there. I know they can. So
yeah.
okay. All right. So where were we? We were. You were getting into
You,
the actual. Am I freezing for you?
no, it's just that we're not on, want to make it gallery. There we go.
Oh, okay, good. Okay. So back to vibrational genetics
Yes.
and the
We're,
science of it. Can you get a little bit into kind of how it works, or do you know how it works?
yeah, I do actually. So the way it works is that I studied molecular biology in school, and I've done a lot of research on it. And the BodyTalk courses that I took were taught by PhD epigeneticist. So that was really helpful in helping me to understand and kind of reawaken my interest in DNA. And so the work that I do really is going and looking through different cells and the DNA's function. So DNA, every cell in your body has the same DNA code, right? You, at that moment of birth, which I call your prime state of being, your DNA comes together, the mother and father's DNA comes together and creates this mosaic, and that's you. And there's all these energies around when that happens, right? There's your soul energy, there's the earth's energy, because we're this expression of earth, and your soul energy in collaboration. There's your whole Akashic records. There's everything. It's all embroiled, and there's the whole atmosphere and environment that you're in that moment. And then there's all the cosmic agendas, and it's all wrapped up together. Um, you still there?
Yeah.
You
Oh, am I
still there?
glitchy for you? Yeah, I'm here.
Yep, you're still there. Great.
Okay.
Yep. Okay, so all that comes together forms that mosaic. That mosaic is in just about every cell in your body. And so, how is it that a liver cell operates differently from a heart cell? Well, it's because of something called epigenetics, which is basically the control system above the DNA, so that only certain genes are turned on in the heart cell and different genes are turned on in the liver cell. So, epigenetics, epi means above. That's basically like who's the one playing the piano. If the blueprint is the piano keys, then who's playing the piano and what songs are they playing, right? And
Right.
so that's where I am participating in the genome. I'm participating with the piano player. So I'm saying, why is a piano player not playing the same songs that it was programmed to play when you were born, in that moment of conception, in that prime state of being? What has happened along the way, or what energetically is coming through from different lifetimes to influence that piano player to shift out of that state of being, which was in perfection and with your soul, and has shifted into playing a different song to get your attention. Usually it's usually to
Mm-hmm.
get your attention, to say, oh, I recognize the song has changed. Now, if we as humans were very sensitive to hearing the songs of ourselves, to understanding the vibration of our bodies, which is possible because if I tuned myself to hear other people's vibration and to detect it, well, then anybody can do it. I'm a firm believer in that. That anyone can become sensitive enough with enough intention to really start tuning into their bodies. And I'm a big proponent of people really taking that power for themselves and becoming sensitive in that way. So you can feel when your body's out of alignment and gently bring it back to equilibration. And so that's really what I'm doing. I'm going in there and I'm looking at the DNA, and there's all these different transcription factors. You know, is the gene methylated when it shouldn't be, or is it not? Is there something on the chromatin? Is the tag incorrect? Are there small interfering RNAs that are shutting down, silencing a gene, or have they been removed and the gene is just turned on all the time? In cancer, genes have a tendency to not die, no gene senescence, right? They become immortal, and that's how tumors form and stick around. And then they create.
It's serving a higher purpose, like, you plan to come into this life with a particular element or something, or how
Right.
do you see that whole thing? It's any number of things.
Well, I do. It's always a combination because you have that that purpose that you come in and you say, okay, I really want to experience this set of parents because this set of parents is going to treat me in a certain way that reminds me that I need to learn how to connect back into loving myself and connect back into that feeling of knowing that I'm never separated from love, that I could never be kept separate from that. And indeed, that I am not separate because most human beings are walking around with what I call separation sickness. It's that idea or that false belief that they're somehow separate from not only everything around them, but from source, right? And so when we have parents that don't treat us well, we feel like we're not accepted, we're not seen, we're not heard, we're not loved. So much of the work is about helping people to remember that they are seen, heard, and loved, that they are some of matter, that they matter, right? That they are of importance. And it's the human condition to feel other than that. And so that has a lot of implications physically, mentally, emotionally in the body. And those emotions carry a lot. We're physical beings. We came to be physical. And the energy and the vibration of emotions carry a lot of physical um, expression in the body because that's our language. Emotions are the language of the human being, and so as we vibrate with our emotions, it creates different changes in our cells and the way they communicate and the way they behave. Um, so
So,
it's
so is dis-ease, I guess, would be sort of like disharmony on more of a genetic level, and things just need to be harmonized better, or is that a good way of looking at it?
Yeah, I would say at the epigenetic
Mm-hmm.
level, not just the genetic, because your hard coded DNA doesn't change. Sometimes there are mutations, but mutations are more rare. You know, like
Mm-hmm.
cancer is only 5 to 10% genetic, but it's 80% epigenetic. So exactly. So that's why it's so malleable. So the expression of your DNA is very malleable because you can get one bad night's sleep and your DNA expression changes of certain things. You know, your cortisol levels go up, and then
Mm.
that puts you into a stress state. And then different, enzymes in your stomach change, and you're more hungry when you don't get enough sleep. So you would gain weight, maybe, if you were chronically not getting enough sleep. That's just one example, but there's all of these changes that occur in the body constantly. And it's not that we need to be hyperactive about thinking and worrying about it, but what we want to remember is that we have to zoom out and look at the big picture and say, okay, well, how am I living my life? What am I participating in? Who am I allowing to be in my field? What actually is in my field? Who are
Mm-hmm.
the people? What kind of energy do they carry? What am I participating in? What do I do for work? Does it light me up? What is my truth? How do I even figure out what my truth is? And then
Mm-hmm.
how do I live in that truth? Because when you slip into that slot of living in your truth, a lot of the other genetic stuff, you can worry about all the little tiny details, or you can slip into that slot of living in your truth, and a lot of those things ameliorate.
Yeah. So I know you've done the group thing before, which is really cool, but you also do personal sessions with people. What kind of things do you offer for? Because I know that's actually how I met you with Lori. Was talking about she had a session with you and received a healing, and I thought that was really cool. So, if someone wanted to come to you, what kind of sessions do you offer?
Yeah, that when I do sessions, I connect to the person and I have them give me a list of their history and what they would like to work on. And then we chat for a few minutes to go over that. And then I basically get us more connected and grounded into the earth, because I always start everything that way to get us anchored. And then I start scanning with my guides, usually the mantis. Sometimes it really depends on the person I work with, because if someone has lost a loved one or somebody is very cosmically connected, sometimes their star guides will come in. Sometimes it's ancestors and people in their lives that they're processing emotions around. So whomever shows up for them works with my guides. Always the mantis are there. They sort of, like I said, they kind of broker, they manage the doorway for me, and create that safe space. And then I go through their whole body. I go through all the organs, all the muscles, tendons, tissues, everything. Almost always spend a lot of time in the brain, because the brain is our supercomputer that is interacting. And then usually the heart brain, which we're trying usually to focus more energy and tension into the heart brain to run the computer at the top, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we'll go through the whole body and then give a detailed description of everything that's happening in the energetic components about behind it. Is this an Akashic influence, or where is this coming from? Is it from childhood, et cetera, et cetera? And then start to do the process of using the tones, moving through the body using the tones. And so there's usually about 10 minutes or 15 minutes of toning where I'm just doing the tones and I'm moving through all the sections of the body that were identified and explained. Because part of the process is explaining what's happening, because that starts the healing right there. And then the toning basically creates the whole energy field around the person that allows all the energy, the density to be released, and for them to come into fruition with all the genetic changes that were just made.
Very nice. Now, is this something where they have one session, or do they listen to the session over and over again to receive benefits, or do they have to come back, or how does that portion work?
It depends. Some people come for one, but I usually prefer to do at least 3 with people, because there's no way I can get to everything. It's the first time I've been in someone's body. There's some people I've worked with for years, on a regular basis. And so I like to offer packages and things like that, so that people are encouraged that at a discount to do more than one session, because there's just so much, right? We've been living a life of collecting things and energy and the foods we've been eating and everything we've been doing. And so there's always a lot to unearth and let go of and shift into equilibrium again.
And I guess as we dig things up and take care of things, then of course more things are going to come up that we probably need to deal with. So it's like an ongoing, just like our journey in general, it's an ongoing process. You're never quite there. You're never quite fully awake. I mean, we're always waking up more and more all the time, aren't we?
Yeah, but we're all moving in that, I always think of it as a river. We're all moving down that river back towards oneness, right? Which is kind of that ultimate goal. And for human beings also, I see a lot that we're these very physical beings, but eventually we will be not so physical, and part of what's happening on the planet right now is that the energies are shifting such that we are starting to feel, and for those of us spending a lot of time in meditation or in healing practices, we're starting to feel less and less physical, meaning, spending more time, less eating, more time almost living off energy, more time in other dimensional realms. And that's sort of that, the next milestone, I'd say, in that process of becoming
Very
not so
cool.
physical.
So I noticed that you also do like light language with it sometimes. Did that all come through at the same time for you?
It did. It does. It depends again on who I'm working with. I just anecdotally, I did a session for a woman the other day, and right when I stepped into her energy field, there's all these different star beings around, and almost all of her tones were light language because that was them talking
Mm.
through me to her, and that was her message. Um, and so it's really interesting. It really depends on who I'm working with, but yeah, there's a lot of times they'll come in at the end with this final message and kind of seal things up and give it a little brrr at the end. And
Mhm.
so it's just neat. It's different every single time. I never know exactly what's going to show up.
Do you think as we move to this higher way of being, these because people talk about ascension and that we're moving upward, and that gifts are going to be able to begin to come online for people, and the energies are, the veils thinning and this sort of thing. Do you think this is something that's going to be way more common for other people to begin to connect in this way, like you do, or do you think everybody's going to sort of have their own thing that they do? How do you view that?
I do. I think that what I do is something that it wasn't just like it all happened to me in an instant. It was like I released like an onion layer of density. I did all these different things. I did Reiki, and I did Reiki attunements, 1, 2, 3 times, 4 times,
Mhm.
I just kind of kept at it. I was actually really determined and pretty dogged about it because I could feel that it was there, but I couldn't reach it.
Mhm.
And so I'm very curious, and I just kept studying. And I think what's important for people to remember is that it's true, it's not going to show up in the same way. It shows up for me in a certain way because I had this really keen interest in science. And so for me, that blending of metaphysics and science is what worked for me. But somebody else might be an artist and have a really metaphysical experience every time they paint, or the energy and vibration of their paintings is how they heal other people. And so everybody comes at it from a different way or connects into the field in a different way. But we all have the ability in that God given right to be in that field, right? We're in that field. It's not like we're ever not in it. How do you relate to it? How does your DNA vibrate, and how does it show up for you? And not worrying about that. Not don't worry about like how it shows up for you, or what are you interested in? This is why I talk about the truth. Like, what's your truth? Everybody's got their own truth. There's no
Mhm.
such thing as a truth. Everybody's got their own truth, right? And that truth that resonates with you is easily identifiable. But like, what lights you up? What interests you? What makes you happy? What do you feel like time goes away and you don't even think about it when you're doing it? And that's how you should come into this whole metaphysical arena, I think, with whatever it is that lights you up, because that's where you're going to create and feel the most joy. And that's a big part of being human, is to actually physically vibrate with joy. And a lot that gets missed a lot. I think we forget about that.
Yeah, it's that comes through with the BQH sessions I do for folks, is that
Hmm.
whatever it is that they do, whether it's writing or music or gardening or whatever it is that makes them feel that connection in the now moment, and sort of go into that timeless space where you're just enjoying it. You don't need to make money to do it. It's just something you enjoy doing. And if there wasn't money to need to be made, you would do it more often. I mean, you would just do it as often as possible. But I think a lot of times we get distracted by the bills and the work and all of the other things that take up our time in our life or whatever. And then that's like the very first thing to fall away is those special things that we do, art, music, or whatever. We tend to neglect that first because that is seen as a hobby or just for fun, and this other stuff is so much more important. But I've been told in session after session that no, this is what's important. You need to make time for that because it's sort of meditative. For the people that don't meditate, maybe that's all that they do. That is sort of their meditation time or their time to connect. So, is there anything besides finding your happy place and meditation that you feel could help someone that would like to see their gifts come online? Just following your heart?
Yeah, I would. So there are a couple of things, and you kind of touched into the fact that we all have to make money and be part of this sort of machine that we're in, right? This
Mm-hmm.
whole economy and the whole corporate arena and everything. And I think it's it's a little tough to break out of that because we have mortgages and families and grocery bills and all this stuff, and we have to take care of that stuff. But um, so there's that fine line between still engaging in that until you're ready to engage completely differently into something else to get that good energy exchange where you're making enough money to live off of that.
Mm-hmm.
But the other thing that we can do in that process while we're in that engaged in all that stuff that we don't necessarily want to be doing is just think about the fact that whatever you're doing is probably part of what you might be doing later, even if you're in a mundane job. Like um, let's say you're, and I apologize, I don't mean to say computer programming is mundane, because it's not, for those that love it. But let's say you're a computer programmer and you'd really like to be doing something more metaphysical. Well, I would argue that you're a computer programmer for a reason, and that the way that you come into the metaphysical world might be in writing programs or supporting people who are bringing their gifts forward in helping that happen. Or maybe you write an app, or there's all these different ways to become more engaged and connected to a community that really feels good to you. And then that's the other thing, is finding community, right? So you're providing a community for people, and that's really important, because there are resources online and there are places where people can connect. I have a community as well, because it's important to create these little locuses where people can connect into and feel like they're not alone, and get encouragement along the way. Because I know when I started out and I was doing this foray into energy healing and channeling and all that other stuff, I had a couple of friends that I met with every Wednesday night. And if I didn't have them, then I probably wouldn't have had the courage to do some of the things that I did. But we all encouraged each other, and nobody cared if, we sounded stupid or whatever. We didn't think about it. And we just felt comfortable just exposing ourselves and trying stuff. And that's really important. It's just to try stuff and not feel self-conscious about it. And so find some people that you can connect to and try stuff with. There's meetups in communities, there's websites, there's Facebook, not my favorite, but it is a way of finding people that are similar to you, and then find people in your area and physically meet with them. And so that you guys can start practicing together. I think that was a big help for me.
Very good. Yeah, and I know that creating a safe place is hugely important. I know a lot of the people in our little group here felt so alone, and they were like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so glad I found other people." Because I know leaving religion, you do feel like you're sort of out in the wilderness at times. But finding this little group here, it's almost like we came across this clearing. Like, oh my gosh, you guys left and you went through the woods and you were alone, and now we're finding each other. And I think that's all part of this process too. So many people realizing that, oh, there is a tribe out there, so to speak, that I can be a part of, and it's safe to talk about my experiences and all of that stuff, and try new things like what you're talking about. So this is wonderful. Should we?
Yeah, and it's true, because there definitely, I was going to say that when sometimes when you're part of a Facebook group, or you're part of a community of people that is all sort of drinking the same Kool-Aid, then you just go do something like in everyday life. For example, I'm on an airplane, I meet a guy and he's never even heard of Reiki, right, or anything, and I think, wow. And he was going to a Buddhist temple every month,
Wow.
or every week or something, and I thought, wow, it was just a good wake-up call for me. There's a lot of people who don't ever think of or are aware of energy medicine or of a lot of this metaphysical stuff we do out in the world. That's the majority, right? They're not thinking in that way. And I thought, well, yeah, so it's good to go out and mingle with people that aren't aware of it, and share some of your experiences in a way that you're comfortable with. But then it's also important to have that community. So just a little caveat there.
Absolutely. And that is funny, because that for me, that's exactly what it was like. I just, like a lot of the stuff that I've heard about now, other than the light language, because I was born and raised in a Pentecostal church, so we did speaking in tongues, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is what we did back then. And
Right.
even some of the feelings of like what we termed the Holy Ghost or Holy Spirit in church, I will get that now, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's not just exclusive to the church. We really were tapping into some energy. It's just the terminology that was applied to what we were feeling and experiencing wasn't just an exclusively churchy thing or a Christian thing. It was, maybe they've got their way of doing it, but they don't have the monopoly on it by any, stretch of the imagination. I sort of took Jesus with me out of the church because, I don't know, I see him as more of a rebel than the church teaches or whatever. But in his teachings, I see differently too. But it's amazing that even with that, that's another example of what we were talking about earlier. It's like these little things that were in our past that were leading up to now, and then now I'm doing light language, on my own, not publicly or anything, but it's still tapping into what I learned way back when I was in church. So another thing that's added into what I'm doing now, and I think it's amazing.
That's so great. I love it. See, again, you're drawing from your own personal experience and realizing that it has a place for you in this new world. And I think that's so important because we don't do anything, you
Yeah,
know, by happen chance or mistake. It's all part of everything. So
that's the
that's
very
great.
thing. That's the very thing that helps me move forward. It's like if I've got where I am now out of complete ignorance, so to speak, like by accident. I know it was not an accident, but I was guided and led by the unseen, and that really gives me faith moving forward. Trust that, hey, I made it this far without knowing what the heck I was doing. I'm okay moving forward, and then that sort of liberates you from worry about the future and allows you to be more in the now and just trust that, hey, I'm headed in the right direction. You were kind of talking about that momentum that we need, or if we can stay in that river, that flow, and just trust that that momentum is going to carry you where you need to go. And there's not so much trepidation once you can let go of the worry and trust more. And that's been huge, in this part of my journey I'm at right now.
Yeah, not so worry about where you're going to go or end up or what it's going to look like, but just really center into the now moment and really just allow yourself to percolate with everything that's happening.
Are you able to tap into sort of the energy of the group? I know it's come up that a lot of us have a history in Egypt together, which I thought was kind of interesting.
Oh.
But like we have this resonance with one another that we felt like we sort of found our group. And I want to know if
Hmm.
are you able to sort of get with your guides and kind of tap into the energy of the group here?
Sure, sure.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Would you like to do, how about we do a meditation and some tones? And if there's any specific questions anyone has, they could ask those if you have a conduit, a chat window that you can
Mm-hmm.
see.
Sure. Yeah, and you guys can just chime in if you have any questions. Put them in all caps or make it show up red for me by putting at unbiased and on the fence, which is hard to do if you're on a phone because you got to type all that in. So just put it in caps. That'll be fine. And then I'll let you. Let's do the meditation, and I'll give you the floor with us. And
Okay,
you,
great. So if everyone wants to get wherever they are into a comfortable spot, even if you're sitting in your car, just lean back and close your eyes for a moment. Just enjoy the moment. Take some nice deep breaths in through the nose and out through the mouth. Feel your breath connect you to your physical body because you are an energy being that came to be physical. So allow the breath to draw your energy in and completely connect to your whole physical being. Follow the breath down through the chakras and down to the root, and then see roots flowing downward from your body, down through the floor, into the earth below you. And the roots flow through the many layers of soil, sand, rock, water, the roots of the trees, the microbes, the mycelium, connecting with all of these energies, happily dancing through them, all of Earth's expressions, moving downward as if magnetically drawn towards the center of the Earth, where her crystalline core resides. And your roots flow happily down, moving towards this energy core. And you may see it as a glowing ball of light or a river of light. But this is the center of Earth's consciousness, and it is a cosmic portal into universal energy and information. And your roots anchor securely into her center, this beautiful crystalline space within her. And as they anchor in, you feel connected to her and safe. You feel at one with her energy as you were when you came into being. And we send her immense gratitude for all that she does and provides, this beautiful energy being that she is, just in her own right. And she responds by flowing this beautiful energy and light up through your roots. And as you inhale, that light flows upwards through those roots, moving through all of those layers of the earth, moving towards your body. And as the light reaches your body, you may invite it in and it begins to merge and flow with every cell in your body, with all of your tissues. It flows upwards through your feet, flows upwards through your chakras, into your legs, up into your body, up into your shoulders, down your arms. It rises swiftly up into your brain until your whole body is alight and aglow with Earth's energy, bringing every cell and all of your DNA into balance and vibration with the earth, connected, relaxed, completely connected to the prime state of being, which is that moment in which you arrived. That beautiful collaboration between your soul energy and that of earth and all of the cosmic influences. We move into the center of your heart now. Bring your attention there. Begin to think about something that brings you joy, helps you feel connected to another being. It can be a human, it can be an animal, it can be a plant, it can be a space, a place. Allow that connection to create warmth and love in the center of your heart. And we're going to open up the aperture of the still point of the heart to allow more of your higher self to flow through, to allow your connection to your cosmic star families to flow through, to your ancestral families to flow through. And while we open up this aperture, what we're going to do is we're going to allow that energy to flow through the vagal nerve of your body and up into the back of the brain, where we connect into the Akashic influences. And we're going to stream this energy of love from your higher self and your oversoul, which comes from Source itself, through your Akashic field to release any patterns of fear, density, lack, any beliefs in separation from oneness or from all that you are as a part and a fractal of Source energy, all that is. We're going to allow this energy to flow through your physical being and into your Akashic records, through the back of your head, so that anything that comes to the stage, the platform, as ready to be shifted and released now comes forward, including those lifetimes of yours that may have been shared in Egypt. Any lifetime of yours that is in connection and vibrating in unison with you in this moment, with a desire to ameliorate or release energy that no longer serves, that is ready to be let go of. We initiate all of the chakras and the channels of the earth to allow this passage of energy and to allow any density to flow through freely, uninhibited, and in a way that does not in any way harm the body, but flows freely through you into the earth and her cosmic portal, and allows more information to come through the top of the chakras. So take a nice deep breath as we start the tones. Take a nice deep breath, or two or three. Allow that energy to flow through you. Allow the expansion that just took place in your brain, the pineal, to continue to flow, to continue to connect you to all of the wisdom and knowledge that you possess and that you have experienced in all of your timelines. Good. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes.
Beautiful. So, it came to me just then that when I participated in the last time, I saw all of these, because this has been happening more often for not only me, but a lot in the group, that we've been seeing a lot more sparkles and orbs and things like that, even when we close our eyes. And the time when you and the group on Wake and Empower TV did it, it was almost like confetti of all of these different light orbs coming out of different colors. It was so beautiful, and I'd never seen anything like that before. But now, even now, I got the full body chills and that wonderful feeling. And I think it's just sort of a thing that a lot of people are experiencing with their third eye, I guess, coming online, or whatever it is. But even this can help in that area as well, right?
Oh, yeah. And everyone listen to my tones that I did right now, but I really always encourage people to do tones for themselves as well. And lately I've been channeling these 5 movements and doing them in conjunction with tones. And it just is amazing what it does for your energy field and opens up all your chakras. And interestingly enough, when I first started, when I was in your group's energy, they brought me into that Akashic area connected to the heart. But then while I was doing the tones, they brought me right into the pineal. And so I was opening that up and expanding that for everybody. And that was when you sort of heard it going, it was, they were just sort of just working in that area. And that is the thing that gives the light show and helps us to feel really expanded and connected and one with everything. And so that was really neat that they brought that in. And I just can't emphasize enough how much toning creates that feeling in the body, because it connects you physically and energetically and cosmically. It just has this amazing effect on us.
It really does. I think one of my favorite times to do this sort of the sound or tones is when I take a bath and I let my ears go under the water, and it seems like it really resonates. It's so much louder throughout my body when I'm laying there. And then you're sort of grounded because you're in the water, which is connected to the metal tub and which is connected to the metal pipe. So you're really grounded in the earth really well while you're doing that. And it just feels so powerful on the pineal gland, and just the resonance with I don't know, the upper chakras seem to be really affected at that time, and it seems to be really beneficial. So I usually take showers. I hadn't taken baths in years, to be honest with you. And just like in the last year, I felt guided to actually take salt baths and spend more time in there, at least, once or twice a month, to take baths, because it's totally different. I think, we're in such a rush that we'll hop in the shower, and then get out. But I'll spend an hour in there, heating up the water again and really taking the time to meditate and do all of that. And I feel like it's super powerful. And it even came through in a session that someone was guided to do that. So anybody else, if you feel resonant with what I'm saying, give it a try. I think it can be powerful.
Yeah, water is so good too at helping us to process and release emotions. It just helps everything flow. And so as you tone and you release the density around some of those stuck emotions, it's a great place to be, to do it in a nurturing, it's like being in the amniotic sac, right? We feel nurtured and we're warm and we feel, hugged and taken care of. And it's like we have that. Your DNA has memory, right? And your muscles have memory. And so when we're in that place where we felt one with our mother before we came out, and we still felt one with source too. And so it's a good place to go back to. So it's great that you did that.
What's your views on just the transition? I know some people are looking to some huge event where we have a major shift. Do you see things as being gradual, or a mixture of gradual change along with huge steps? I guess event type. I don't know. Do you have any information like that from when you get connected?
Well, yeah. So in January, January was a really interesting month, right? We had this big astrological event happening on the 12th, and a lot of energy was shifting and changing. I almost never get sick. I was sick for an entire month of January. I was just down. I was out. And so it was really, I think, my way of I just needed to hunker down for a while, clearly. But the reason that's relevant is because during that time, my guides kept coming in and saying the same thing to me. Like, things have got to change. Things are not headed in the right direction. And you guys don't have that much long left. That there are going to be a lot of different things that happen that you need to pay attention to. And people need to start growing their own food. They need to start learning how to think small again, small, local, grow your food in a way that you can trust, because the food supply is not good and it's making people sick. And so, the message was on that station, and I could not get off of that station for over a month. And so it brought my attention to, I was thinking, oh, is this all happening tomorrow? When is this happening? No, it feels like it is going to be somewhat gradual, with some punctuated events happening, whether those are political or whether we're feeling like different systems start to break down and transform into something else. I don't see it so much as catastrophe, that everything goes, apocalyptic. I really see more like, as things start to erode, that the young people are going to bring in and come up with a better system. And it might feel chaotic and it might feel like it doesn't work to the people who are of the older generations, because we're used to a very tight structure with our government, a tight structure with our economy, with banking, with everything. And the young people don't think like that. They think in abstract form. They move and they create in abstract. And so that's like what social media is, right? It's like abstract. You're connecting to all these dots all over the place. It's not like I'm a linear person and these are my friends and blah, 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 blah. It's like, it's all over the place. And so they're able to really conceptualize things in that way. And so I think the solutions they're going to come up with are going to feel very abstract to the older people, but to them, they're going to make a lot of sense. And so it's really all about your perspective. Things are going to look like they're out of control and falling apart, but to a young person, it could be the most exciting time of their life, and they can't imagine being alive at any other time, because everything's changing and fresh and new and is an exciting way of doing things. And we are all scared of, losing whatever little nest egg we've developed. But what if you didn't even need that nest egg, because like everything just changed and shifted and, the debt went away or something. So yeah, it's going to require a lot of thinking out of the box and letting go of attachment to old paradigms and ideas of what we think we need to survive. And it's going to be about surviving in a completely new way. It's going to be a lot more joy and a lot more working with the earth and the plants and going back. I think so. There's a lot of different reasons why there are a lot more autistic kids out there. Right? Okay, so you can think it might be the glyphosate that we're all getting exposed to that's in our water that they're spraying on all the crops. Okay, but here's the thing, here's an idea. Is autism the genome's adaptation to glyphosate, and that it changes the very function of our brain? We are a biological sensing organism. Are we changing so that we start behaving differently and change all of the systems, because maybe the autistic brain thinks in more abstract ways in certain ways and then very regimented ways in other ways, but it doesn't work the same way our brain works, right? It works in a totally different way. And so we recognize that as being different and there's something out of the norm, but maybe that's more closely tied to what will be normal for the human brain. It's evolving. We are evolving as a species constantly. And it's hard to see it because we have this little window of time that we're looking at, but we are evolving.
Definitely. Well, Jeilene, is there anything else that we missed? I do have your links below so people can contact you through the websites.
Gosh, we touched on a lot. I'd love it for people to connect in with me if they have any questions. And it's just been a pleasure being here. Thank you for having me. And I encourage everybody to do some toning on their own, because that's really been a huge life transformation for me, and I would love everyone to have that same experience. And it helps you connect, and it helps you feel more engaged, and helps all this great information that's just wanting to come through.
Absolutely. I wanted to mention that Nancy said, please let her know that the praying mantis appeared to her after her old meditation video. So that's wonderful.
Good. Yeah, that is. They do that a lot. I'll work on someone, and then the next day someone will send me a photo of a mantis, like on their windshield or something.
Right.
They leave their little calling card.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking the time. I'd love to have you back, hopefully when it's not Mercury retrograde and we won't have the little hiccups. But I really loved having you on, and I hope you guys will go check out her link, subscribe to her YouTube channel, and look further into. I do have her Awaken Empowered television presentations too, which were awesome. It gets more into her bio and how she got to where she is now. It's kind of hard to cover all that in an hour, but those are longer videos that cover a lot more, and I really enjoyed it. And it also has some of your toning in those videos as well. So
yeah,
thank you so much.
All right, thank you. Thanks everyone for listening, and have a great day.
Have a great day, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Be sure to check out the website at UOTF.net. There you will find the live stream schedule displayed in your local time right there on the front page. Below that, you'll find links to take the Beyond Quantum Healing course at a discounted rate, purchase our book, Mandela Effect, Friend or Foe, in paperback or ebook, or to contact me to schedule a BQH session. At the top of the site, you'll find links to help support the work I do, Access the free private forum where you can discuss organizing get-togethers in your area, Mandela effects, and more. Thank you all so much for being here.